Hello, welcome into the starters. I'm Dave. That is Simon and George. How's it going, gentlemen?
Dave, what's going on?
David, I am doing well.
Good. That's all that matters. Doing well. That's all that matters. The Hab fans doing a little bit better, I guess, than the last time we spoke. They beat the Leafs on a Saturday night. Not much more you can ask for than that in terms of excitement and a couple, a bit of time off, which is a little bit odd compared to the usual schedule. And then they have 3 games in 4 nights. Now, of course, with all this time off, there's a lot of rumors swirling around the club, including Ryan O'Reilly, which you guys, I thought, were ahead of the curve last week, talking about him before the big wave hit of Ryan O'Reilly's rumors. I mean, there's a lot of talk out there that Ken Hughes is very busy calling all sorts of people, and obviously they signed Alex Tessier, and we'll see what happens there. But I want to know, there's rumors. Elliot Friedman touched on it. Darren Dreger even touched on it about rumors swirling around the Habs, including at the goaltending position. So my kind of take on it is, my question to you guys, right, and I want to hear your takes on it, is what do you think is the most pressing need? Because we've talked about it so much about the 2C spot, so important. But now it's creeping in that there's so many injuries on this team and there's so many spots that you kind of have to fill now. Forget about in the long term. So I just want to know, what is your most pressing need now? Do you think it's still the center position? Do you think it's a little bit more depth position? Or do you think it's the goaltending position, which has emerged maybe as a potential candidate for a move, according to some of the insiders? So what do you think is the most pressing need right now?
I think the most pressing need right now, Dave, is you got to get a save. You got to get a save when it matters. You got to get a save to keep you in the game. I thought Dovish did that on Saturday early in that game. Nothing brilliant. I don't think he was one of the 3 stars. But you look back at that Washington game, I can't remember who scored on our televisions. They came down the bottom left of our television, and I think it was the 3rd goal on Montembeault. No, that can't happen. Now, the only scary thing is we believe that, Connor McDavid's the best player in the world. Leon Draisaitl's one of the 5, and they've been looking for a goalie for how long? I think, Dave, this is where you have to sit this one out because you're too young. Your boy George there remembers Pelly Lindbergh as a goalie for the Philadelphia Flyers, and they still haven't solved the goaltending issues in Philadelphia with a legit number. You know what I don't think there's help on the way when it comes to a goaltender. I think if there was a very, very good goalie out there available, I think there'd be so many teams on him that the asking price would be through the roof. So I think they're just going to wait it out. Hopefully the defense gets a little bit better. I like what Martin St. Louis said. He came a little bit to the defense of his goalies, right? He talked about, he had a comment in French about, tying up the sticks in front, being more aggressive in the blue ice, winning puck battles, blocking shots, all those things. So I think that's the only line back to decent goaltending is a collective. And the one thing I thought was a very simple fix, I don't think it's overly difficult, and I think they did a little bit. Florian Xhekaj, youth, affordable youth, edge, hungriness to play at the NHL level. I think that's what you have to do sometimes with your bottom 6. You need to find guys that are just chomping at the bit here, and they got that because you saw it against the Kings. Saw it a little bit with the Bruins. I thought the Habs played a good game in that game. It wasn't terrible, but you saw it with the Bruins. And without question, you saw it again with the Capitals, that they're just going to try to be overly physical with you. And I like the Xhekaj call-up. It's exactly what they need. You watch the Habs play. I think you need to throw somebody in the opponent's, blue ice and start some ruckus there, be a presence in front of the net, play a little bit after the whistle and all those things, right? So a little bit of sandpaper. I don't think it's hard to get. Maybe Xhekaj is the guy to do that. And I think you got to get a save here. I think that's the most pressing before you start shopping for that mythical, second line center. There's a couple of things that can be done, and it doesn't cost too much. And one of them is calling up Florian Xhekaj, and the other one is getting a damn save. So start with those 2 things.
Fair enough, George.
Yeah, listen, I'll disagree with the Flyers. They had Ron Hextall brought him to a cup in '87, so I'll say they had figured it out for a short period.
Michael Layton brought him to a Stanley Cup final
as well. But I wouldn't say Michael Layton is. But that is also a good point. Look, you look at this. I think getting a goaltender doesn't really make sense right now, right? What do you do with one of the 2 if you do acquire one? So I think getting a save from the guys you have is probably priority number 1. That being said, I love what Simon said in terms of getting some sandpaper, getting a guy that's going to go to the greasy area of the ice, get you those tough goals, But, guys, which still remains the mythical second-line center that we've been talking for over 20 years about, Well, we talked about a first-line center. We seem to have that. And now we need that second, And I think the Montreal Canadiens are one injury away from being in big trouble right now. And the proof of that is that Alex Tessier is on this team, because you don't go get a guy on waivers and sign him to a contract, or a guy that just got off waivers and sign him to a contract, if you're not looking for a forward, because you have all these injuries and you don't have any centers. Jake Evans goes down. It is a catastrophe. Jake Evans goes down. It's a catastrophe, because all of a sudden, who's playing center? Who do you got? Like, you got to figure it out. I mean, they've tried Veleno. They've tried guys at center. It's been okay, I guess, in the bottom six, but thank God for Kapanen, because if Kapanen hasn't, been there, the Canadiens are in a hell of a lot of trouble, and he's playing over his head. I think playing with Demidov helps, and I think, I'm not going to take away what Kapanen has done. He's been fantastic, but look, the Montreal Canadiens don't get a center, and something happens to the three centers they have, one of them, it's over. It's done. Like, I don't see any solution. You're going to have to figure something out quick. So I love the Xhekaj. I love what Simon said. I love the save. Love that. But you got to get a center at some point here, because I don't know how long Alex Newhook is gone for. But if they lose one more guy, they're in a whole heap of trouble.
All right, that's fair enough. I just want to go back to the goaltending issue a little bit, and I don't think we've addressed this on this show. So I just wanted to get your thoughts basically on, what do you think that Marty St. Louis had any role at all in what happened with the goaltending of not playing Monty, and not, because I mean everything was going so well, and then they just,
what did he do? He Dobish maybe missed the start, and that's enough to throw off.
I think he threw well.
Because don't forget, Dave, Dobish went into the season as the number 2, right?
Right.
And let's just, for the easy math, 50 starts compared to 32 starts. So it's not like they sat him for a week and a half and he missed 4 consecutive starts, or they played Montembeault 5 times in a row. Like, Dobish is not owed anything. He is the backup. There has to be a certain mindset that comes with being a backup. And if the coach decides to go back to the goalie that he believes is the better goalie, if that's enough to offset everything, then there has to be some exercise done for Jakub Dobish from the neck up.
And for both of them, for both.
But there has to be an element there, like,
absolutely.
Like, okay, man, the coach didn't start me. That can't derail your season, son.
How weak are you mentally, Dave, that you miss a start and it derails you?
I agree with you. I agree. And in a perfect world, that would never happen. And that's not the type of goaltender you want. But he is young, and you saw him cry after a loss, right? Like, you saw him got emotional. So there is some learning and maturing to do on his thing.
Toughen up, Buttercup.
Sure.
That's a Dobish thing, right? I can't run my bench. I can't run my team because my back gets emotional.
But the argument was that he was going so well. Everything was going perfect for him. Yeah. I mean, he was undefeated even in the preseason to the season.
Dave, I'm on Simon's side 100% here. I mean, you cannot pander to the astrological feelings of Jakub Dobish and Montembeault. It doesn't make no sense. These are professionals. If you miss 2 games, I expect you, when I put you in the next game, for you to be at the best of your abilities.
Look, it's hard to compare one guy to the other, but they took Mike Matheson, who had an excellent season 2 years ago. They started him off on the power play last year, wasn't good enough. They gave the ball to Lane Hudson, and Lane Hudson ran with it. And you come back, Matheson this year, still Lane Hudson, he's playing at a high level. And it's not fair to compare one human.
Well, Slavkovsky's not on that first line much.
Yeah,
and he's I can't.
If you come out of camp and you're the man, and it's 17 games into an NHL or 15 games into an NHL season, and you've lost your status as the one, they start playing the backup a little bit more. Okay, there I can see how it can mess with your head. Here, it can't. You missed the start, Dobish. You didn't miss a month's worth of hockey, so I'm buying into that.
I get what you're saying, but at the end of the day, like, things went wrong as soon as those decisions were made. Sure. Right on both goaltenders dropped off the like, something happened, obviously, and whether we like to fit it within our Canadian hard, like strong-minded, like that's what the hockey is, right? You're strong will, strong mind. You need some guys who have a strong, but mental aspect of their game. But at the end of the day, not all players fit into that puzzle piece.
I get that, and I get goalies are also very particular. That being said, though, Simon made the best point. You can't coach your team on the basis of how a guy is feeling.
I kind of get it, but like you also look at like the power play. Like Bolduc started the season so well, and then they bumped him off that first power play unit. The power play also crashed, and then Bolduc's game kind of crashed for a little bit. Took a step.
Power play came back, Dave. Right?
It did, but he's back. He kind of came back on it though. But so it's just and you see. There's just like, I know, like we don't want to talk about at this level of hockey because you're supposed to, like, you're not catering. It's not like Pee Wee where you're catering to your players' feelings. But at the end of the day, I do kind of find it comes into it, and it's a conversation to have that I don't think.
I can remember Dave, Michel Therrien used to drive me crazy doing stuff like this, where Michel Therrien would, the 2 games there was no points, and he would like blend the lines, just throw everybody in a blender.
For sure.
It would drive me bananas, And if a goalie was hot, he'd ride the goalie like 7 straight games, and that was it, I get it. I get it. Sometimes you have to do that, right? Because you need a win, you need points, you need this, but it's got to be about the team. It can't be about Montembeault. It can't be about Dobesh and what makes them feel good.
I tend to agree. Obviously, like I it's just a thought that crossed my mind. There's like a day you could pinpoint to where it went wrong, when everyone was like, let's start Dobesh for a couple games here, and he didn't, and then both goaltenders fell off a cliff, and it was just, it's rare that you get to see an exact moment in time where it happens and a direct correlation to an action. So it was just a question worth posing, in my opinion. I don't necessarily agree with it either. I kind of agree with you guys.
It's also, they lost to the Devils there in overtime. I think you can make a case are a better team. The LA Kings, maybe at the same place the Habs are, but for whatever reason, they're brilliant on the road. The Bruins and the Habs, you can literally throw out the records there. The Kings, the Capitals own the Canadians right now. Wow. They're just their brand of hockey.
They're built. Yeah.
The way it's built is, the Habs would love to have a 7-game series against the Devils, right? They probably don't want a 7-game series against the Capitals. It's just a bad matchup. So, but again, he missed the start. That's not. It shouldn't be enough.
All right, fair enough. I want to touch back to something you said, Simon, about Florian Xhekaj. Florian Xhekaj obviously comes up, makes quite an impact in his first game against the Leafs. Gets into that fight. He's definitely gives a jump start, in my opinion, to the Canadians, and he's a fun guy to watch. So I just want to know: do you see him staying for the long run? Is it just a short stay, or, in your opinion, obviously, I mean, you need a bigger sample size, but in your opinion right now, is he here to stay, or guys, is his stay just limited until bodies come back and that's it?
Listen, we can't deny the effect he had in that game, right? We can't deny he positively affected the Montreal Canadiens in that game. With the type of hockey he plays, and he's a good energy guy with a little bit of skill who can drop the gloves. And the Canadians are in desperate need of a guy like that. So I think if he can bring that every game, and we've seen the 1-game superstar performance, Ryan Poehling comes to mind, where he scored, 3 or 4 goals, and he scored, 7
hat trick and a shootout.
And he scored 7 the next year. So, and probably has like 20 up to this part in his career. So, I'm not ready to say Florian Xhekaj is a guarantee player, everyday player for the rest of the year. But I will say, if he plays the way he played last game, he becomes an automatic. He really does become an automatic. I mean, I can see a world where he plays over Joe Veleno, example. If Joe Veleno, isn't producing, and, he's got 1 goal in 15 games, that's not really going to cut it. So there's other guys that could be in danger. And you saw the Canadians, they can be hot on a guy, and all of a sudden he falls out of favor. Joshua Roy was at one time, a top 3 prospect for the Canadiens organization. And I would be surprised if we see Joshua Roy again this year. That's where we're at. So Florian Xhekaj, great start. I love it. Is he going to be able to continue that for the rest of the year? We'll see. But what he provided against the Toronto Maple Leafs is unquestionably exactly what the Montreal Canadiens need. And if Florian Xhekaj produces that, Martin St. Louis is going to have a really tough time taking him out of the lineup. A real tough time taking him out of the lineup.
I agree. Simon?
Yeah, I like what I saw. There's not guys on the team that can do that. The team is not difficult to play against. They're difficult to play against because the incredible skill set of Nick Suzuki and Cole Caulfield and Lane Hudson and Dobson and Matheson are elite skaters. From that standpoint, they are difficult to play against. But you know what I mean when I say in the hockey terms, they're not difficult to play against. They don't have that element. Josh Anderson is a big dude, doesn't really play that big-time power forward role. Jake Evans, not at all. Brendan Gallagher, I don't know how many, I don't think he puts the opposition's blue liners on their heels when he's getting overly physical. He does what he does. He stays around the blue ice and all those things. Kapanen, no. Demidov, no. The top line, no. Slav is not, thought his game was very good on Saturday, but he's not an overly physical guy that's going to knock people over. So right now, Xhekaj, he brings something that none of them bring. None. Joe Veleno doesn't bring that either. And I like the fact that they're bringing up Enstrom because I want Struble and Xhekaj to be pushed a little bit. There's somebody behind you, and he might take your spot in the National Hockey League. And you know what? George mentions Veleno, the goal total, not good enough. Brendan Gallagher, goal total, not good enough. Jake Evans is lucky, goal total is not good enough. He's a penalty killer, and he plays center. But, yeah, the top spot in this division in the Atlantic and the 8th spot is going to be separated by 4 or 5, maybe 6 points, man. That's maybe a point a month. That'll be the difference between a non-playoff team, 9, and an Atlantic division is a point a month. There's no time to play here. And the thing about the Xhekaj, press some guys. Healthy scratch a couple of guys. Healthy scratch a veteran or so on the blue line and with the forwards as well. So it's not just what Xhekaj did on Saturday. They're in desperate need of that brand of hockey. Don't take bad penalties. Be physical. Do what you have to do. Don't fight everybody. Don't drop your gloves every game. Just be a light power forward, if that even exists in the world of hockey. Go watch tapes with Brad Marchand. Whatever it is. But I think they're in desperate need of that. And I think he's got a spot. When everybody else comes back, you reassess and all those things. But some guys need to be pressed. Some guys need to play better. And if there's nobody chomping at the bit, whether it's with the blue liners or the bottom 3 or the bottom 6, I'm not going to say guys get complacent, but maybe they are getting a little bit complacent if there's nobody, maybe the 13th forward is, the crowd gets into it. The crowd loves him. It's all those things. He becomes very popular. So, no, I love the Xhekaj call-up. I love the Davidson call-up as well. I think when you look at your bottom 3, your bottom 6, young, affordable, hungry, man.
Hungry, keyword.
That's the recipe. Guys, go back 2 years ago when the Lightning used to bring up all these guys from the American Hockey League affiliate and make it to the Stanley Cup. Like, who the hell are these guys? They all turned out to be very good NHLers, but at some point they can skate, they were hungry, and they were affordable. So you get some young guys, and you can overspend at the top.
Yeah, I agree with Tom. You need more Sam Bennett, right? You need more that
that's
dog. But that's what you need, right? You need
that.
You need guys that are
Xhekaj in the lineup. The forwards, the 12 of them, they're easy to play against. They can make you look stupid. They can dang it.
But I don't think that's the job of the bottom 6, right? The job of the bottom 6 is to provide that tough to play against hockey. And
specifically, George, when your top 6 is not like that, right?
Yeah, agreed.
So your top 6 is not like that. So I think you need that. If your top 6, if the Canadiens' second line center was Sam Bennett and whoever, you had Tom Wilson in your top 6, then you can go a little bit more skillful on your bottom 6. But the Canadiens right now, their top 6 is overly skilled, not very physical. So that element of hockey has to come into play here. Dobson's not that guy. Matheson's not that guy. Hudson's not that guy. Carrier's not that guy. Struble, Xhekaj, there you go. And with a healthy Caden Goalie. But Struble and Xhekaj might play 11, 12 minutes a game.
They have to make it count, though, Simon. Those guys, the Struble and Xhekaj have to make it count. they have to become the guys that make it difficult to play against the Montreal Canadiens, and this is where Florian comes in. Florian's got to make it hard on the opposition to play against, and there has to be some punishment. There's got to be some names taken and some prices paid.
Yeah, I think it's definitely needed in the forward group, because you can't have your two guys that are going to be physical be your defensemen, right? Like you need a little bit of sandpaper up front, and what Florian Xhekaj brings, I think he could be an even better story than his brother, and it could be more of a fan favorite than his brother, which is crazy because his brother came out of nowhere, had a great story, everyone loved him, but he has his limitations. I believe Arbor Xhekaj does. I think that he is what he is currently, and that's pretty much which is fine, but. I think Florian has a lot more potential, and I think that you saw that potential to make an impact right away in the NHL. So I do agree with you guys. I think he's here to stay, and if I wouldn't be surprised if we never see him go back down to Laval at all this season.
Well, considering the length of the injuries, there's a chance of that.
Oh, that's true. That's another big factor. Oh man, the injuries with this team has just been unreal. I've never seen a team this. I don't want to say fragile because it's all like kind of fluke injuries, but
it's usually the same guys that are getting injured here as well, though. I mean,
very true, but it just seems to be like all the time. Like, what is going on? If I didn't live here, I'd be like, what's in the water? But
well, I believe it's called the Benoit Brunet disease. Well, sorry about that, Ben. Sorry.
Oh my goodness.
Shots fired. Sorry about that.
Goodness.
Sorry about that.
All right, guys. Well, thank you very much. It's been an educating conversation. Thank you very much to all who have been listening and tuning in. Our subscribers are going up. So if you can just click onto that subscriber button, I promise you some great content coming. And of course, tune in to Simon on Saturdays on TSN 690, on Sundays on TSN 690, 10 to noon every weekend. And you won't go wrong. He has some great conversations with Brian Wild, among others. All sorts of great stuff on there. So check him out on TSN 690. And of course, give us a follow at the start of 690 on all the platforms and subscribe, most importantly. Thanks a lot, guys. Tell your friends about us as well. Thanks a lot, boys.
Ciao, boys.